Hello again, everyone. I'm Cal Van Singel, and welcome into episode 12 of Cal's Corner. And our newest victim, can I call you a victim?
You can call me a victim.
There we go. Our newest guy to sit down with me today is Bill Welch from right here in Whitehall. And we want to welcome Bill in. But before we do that, we got to pay a quick bill here. We want to thank Billy Mann. I have a lot of bills in my life now, so if I get confused, just hang with me. But I want to thank Billy Mann, who's our production guy. He's the guy that takes care of this. He also owns KLLB Media right here in Whitehall. KLLB Media is about making your creations come to life. And I also want to thank, and another one of our guys here who helps out, is also this guy, Bill Welch here, because he provides this space right here at his card shop, Bill's Golden Cards and Collectables right here in Whitehall.
Hey, it's a pleasure and honor. I'm beyond blessed to be on the show today. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. So once again, KLLB Media, Bill's Golden Cards and Collectables, thanks them for helping out with this. So here we are already at episode 12. And Bill, you're going to be our guest today, and I've been looking forward to this since you said yes.
Me too.
Yes, you said yes, and now and you're in the corner.
Yes.
So I got you.
Now I'm pinned. Let's go.
All right. So tell me about the early years of Bill Welch.
Well, so early on, I grew up in Mansalona, Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Small town up north, a little north of Traverse City. Spent my childhood there, kindergarten through 8th grade. Probably some of my best times of my life, pedaling my bike, delivering newspapers, mowing lawns, playing Little League. I still have a ton of good friends up there. So that's the start. We were very involved into the community. I played Little League, Cub Scouts. I was part of the choir at the church. We were very active family up there.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about your parents.
So my parents, they both were very involved in the community up there. My dad was on the fire department, the ambulance. He was a Little League coach. He wore many hats. Most of them, were in the community. We were involved in anything and everything that we could. Being a small town, you make the best of a small town, so.
Okay, are they still alive?
No, they both passed.
Okay.
My dad passed away a year ago. My mom passed away about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Toughest thing ever. To lose your parents.
Mm-hmm.
I think about them every day still, but they're the cornerstone of my life.
Yeah. So, yep. Any siblings?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers. I have actually a brother, 2 younger brothers. One actually joined the military with me. We both went into the recruiter office at the same time and joined together. So both of them were close brothers. We do a lot of things together, and they've been a big part of my life as well.
That's awesome. What about high school? Tell me about high school.
So high school, that's when we moved. My dad was a defense contractor for Teledyne. So he worked for the government, got a job in Muskegon. So we moved to Whitehall. That's where I graduated. 4 years I played football and baseball at Whitehall. Was very fun. A lot of people are like, man, I don't want to ever go back to high school. I'll tell you what, I'd go back to high school any day. I had a blast, So Whitehall, that's where I graduated from. I claim Mansalona as my childhood era, but Whitehall that's where I graduated. So a lot of fun there.
Who was your football and baseball coach back then?
Wow. So I had Ron Backus. I don't know if you know Ron Backus. No. Baxter was our coach.
Okay.
I actually had Wayne Heisinger.
That name I know.
Yes, yeah. Wayne Heisinger was my coach, and then Russell was our coach. And actually, Warren Zweigel, who is the coach right now, yes. I think this is his last year, rumor has it. I was on his first team at Whitehall.
Okay.
So I was on his first team, and Miles, my son, may be on his last team.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So so those were some of my coaches. Like I said, I had a blast playing sports. I kept active in high school. So the German club, I was in the German club for 4 years. Anything I could be active in, I was active in. So
I kind of know the answer to this, but I have to ask because I just have not really heard much about this. What is a German club? Obviously, probably. If you have German
So I took German class for 4 years.
Okay.
And so they actually had a German club where we would go on trips to Chicago, and it was a fun after activity. So yeah.
Really? Yeah. That's I've heard of Spanish club.
Yeah.
Or so. I'm just right. I think that's the first time.
Yeah.
In
German club.
65 years I've heard of a German.
I don't think Whitehall has German anymore. So it was a special thing. So
Can you still speak any German?
a very little bit. I can sing Happy Birthday in German. No kidding, I can.
That's pretty cool. You have another hidden talent at Bill Welch.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Oh, so you graduate high school, then what?
So after high school, I actually had a partial scholarship to play baseball at Muskegon Community College. Went there. I was planning on being an accountant. So numbers fascinated me. Of course, we all have a time when we wish we could go back, right? Change a little bit, but I was still in, I guess you would say, the party mode. And once I got to college, I figured they didn't care if you were in class or not. So long story short, I played baseball for a very little time there. Became ineligible for the team because I was skipping classes. And then after that, I ended up working at a factory. So I worked the factory for a few years after the stint at Muskegon Community College.
When did the Army come into play, and why did the Army come into play?
Yeah, so man, that's a fun story too. So did my time in the factory, working factory work, it's kind of I wouldn't say boring, it's just not for me, but you have to do what you have to do. My brother was working factory, and at the time, we were both living together in a trailer. We're just living the life, bachelor pad, having a good time. And funny thing is we were sitting down watching the movie Stripes. Remember that movie, Stripes?
Yeah.
So we watched that movie, and this was shortly after 9/11.
Okay.
And the movie got over with, and we both looked at each other, and we said, "Let's do it. Let's go." So we both walked into the recruiter office together. 9/11 pushed us. We wanted to be a part of that. Give back to the country, and so we went in, and the recruiter was so happy to see two guys that had no questions. Where do I sign? And wow, his eyes lit up. So so that's where that happened. So
Why the Army?
So the Army, my dad actually did. I left this out. So much that my dad did. He wore so many hats, but he did over 30 years in the Army. So the Army's always kind of been in our blood.
Yeah.
It was something that I never really thought about until 9/11. But the Army it's been kind of in our family.
Yeah. So, yep. Where was basic training for you?
So basic training was Fort Knox.
Okay.
We called that Hard Knocks. I actually went in as a Cav Scout, which is 19 Delta Cav Scout, basically your reconnaissance. So you're the first ones in and you're the last ones out. So basically you are the first ones in a situation, you get eyes on, and you scout it out, you wait until everybody's out of the situation, and then you retreat after. So very exciting. My brother, we were both, when we were choosing our MOS, our duty for the Army, we both wanted to go in together as the same thing. But he scored a little bit higher on his mechanical. So he was a Blackhawk mechanic. So he went in as a Blackhawk mechanic, which so much fun that is, right? The funny story about that, and we, can go on with so many stories, but my first tour overseas, we did a mission in a Blackhawk. So it was where basically they came and they picked us up, dropped us off in a village, and we raided some houses and then got back on the Blackhawk. But the funny thing is, my brother was stationed on the other side of Baghdad, and being a Blackhawk mechanic, he had never been on a Blackhawk. So I got on a Blackhawk before he did.
Oh,
So yeah. Yep.
so I want to back up a little bit. So you said Fort Bragg, right?
No, Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Fort Knox.
Yep.
How long in between Fort Knox and your first deployment, your first and three? How much time was in there?
Yeah, so I let's see, 2001, I got done with basic training. I reported in 2002 to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and within 9 months, we got the call to deploy.
How long was your first deployment?
So the first deployment, we were part of the first wave into Baghdad. We were there for 15 and a half months. So standard tours for Army is 1 year.
Okay.
So we ended up, actually, we fast forward a little bit. We had our bags packed, ready to go home, and a situation broke out in Sadr City, and they said, nope, you're unpacking, you're staying for a few more months. So just imagine all these soldiers were all ready to roll back home the next morning. Just imagine how we felt, after thinking we're going home, and then nope, you're staying 3 or 4 more months. It was tough. I was really tough.
That'd be crushing.
Yes. Yep.
And not just I would never done anything like that, so I can't imagine that. But I mean, that would be crushing.
Yep.
For that guys that were married or
morale and everything was just downtime. It was low. But we got a new mission and we carried on, and eventually came back home. So,
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, very long. Yeah.
So you come home, you're done with your first mission.
Yep.
What happened between what did you do between your first and your second mission? What was that?
So between my first and second deployment, I got married. Actually, I guess we can back up just a smidge. I had plans. I had actually proposed to my wife, now Janet, when I was back home on leave. We had plans of getting married, and then we ended up deploying. So, of course, we had plans to get married, and we decided to do a quick wedding in Louisiana. So that way we knew we were getting that little extra money from the deployment for being married. So we got married in the front of a Justice of Peace in Louisiana. The funny thing is we had 3 witnesses. We got married on March 3rd, so 3/3/03.
Oh wow, okay.
At 3 p.m. So everything was threes for us, Andy. So kind of a unique little thing. So that's kind of our family lucky number is 3.
Okay.
So we got married, and then so as you said, what did I do between deployments? Yeah. So that was a lot of guys decided to get out of the Army after that 15-month tour. So I'd only signed up for 3 years, and so I was like, man, that really drained me. I think I'm done. So I decided to ETS from the Army, get out of the Army, move back home, and go to college again. I'm like, well, hey, let's go to college, right?
Yeah.
So this time we went to Lakeshore. Me and the wife, Janet, we moved to Ludington. We moved to Ludington. I went to Lakeshore. This time I'm like, I'm gonna join the police academy up there. I want to be a police officer. It's kind of similar to what I was doing in the military. I'm comfortable with that. So in the meantime, while I'm doing that, the Man of Steve National Guard unit reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, we're changing our tune here. We're changing from tankers to Cav Scouts. And word has it, you were an active duty Cav Scout. You'd be detrimental to us, you know?" So, of course, then our first kid was on the way, Chloe, my oldest daughter. And we're like, "Oh man, you know, we got a kid on the way. You know, they offered me a signing bonus. I kind of miss the Army, you know, the camaraderie with the guys and everything." So I joined the National Guard unit in Manistee. Of course, the first thing I asked, "You guys aren't deploying anytime soon, correct?" They're like, "Oh no, we just got back from a deployment. It'll be a while." So of course, the first drill, what do I start hearing? Buzz of deploying again. So as soon as I got to the unit, we started deploying. You know, getting ready. We started going, you know, doing extra training. So I had taken a whole year at Lakeshore and had to put that on hold and deploy again. That was my second deployment.
Wow. Where was that to?
So the second deployment, our mission was convoy security. So what we did is we actually were based in Kuwait, but we escorted supply trucks in and out of Iraq.
Okay.
So that's, again, not a safe mission at all, you know. So we took numerous pop shots here and there. You know, luckily we didn't lose any soldiers. We had a few IEDs hit near our vehicles. But for the most part, it was a pretty safe mission. You know, it was kept us on our toes, that's for sure. Yeah. So that was my second mission, which that was with the National Guard.
Yeah. Did you take fire too in your first mission?
Yeah. So the first deployment was, out of all three, the most intense.
Okay.
So towards the end, which caused us to actually to stay over another few months, we were actually in Sadr City, which is, they call that kind of the slums of Baghdad.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we patrolled. We had another Cav unit that came in, and we trained them and showed them what to do because we were getting ready to leave. Well, their first night alone on their first patrol, they took some real heavy gunfire. So we were tasked to go in and look for a couple of soldiers that got left behind. So, of course, we got down to our basic load to go back to Kuwait because we thought we were going home. So all of a sudden we get the call. We're like, "Hey, you guys got to go and find these soldiers." You know, they're taking heavy gunfire. And of course, at the time, I'm just a private. That was my first deployment. And I'm a driver, so I'm just a driver, right? But you know, so that was so intense. We hurry up, we scramble, we get more ammo and get ready to go in there, and we're waiting at the gate to leave. And as we're waiting, we're seeing a bunch of the other convoy coming in, and that was hard because we seen blood all over the windshields. Flat tires. They took some heavy fire, and I'm thinking to myself, "Man, I gotta go into where these guys just came from." So of course, you know, you gotta be ready for it. You know, we trained for this stuff. So we ended up going in there, and of course, we started taking heavy gunfire from the rooftops. We're returning fire. We're moving through this alleyway, and all of a sudden, I'm the lead vehicle at this point. So I'm the lead vehicle, and all of a sudden an RPG hits fairly close to our vehicle. Didn't do any damage, but we were able to get through it. We ended up finding the two soldiers, and we battled our way back to the camp. But that was, you know, throughout that first deployment, we had numerous other, you know, shootings, but this was the one big one, right?
Yeah.
You know, that will be forever etched in my head, you know. So, but yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on behalf of myself and everybody that listens, we not think would not.
No, it's I appreciate for that for sure.
Yep. So back to your second deployment then. We know. Let's talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So the second deployment, it was a pretty good deployment. Like I said, it was we did convoy security. We took light fire here and there, but nothing. We didn't lose any troops, which is always a great thing. So then I come back home.
Yep.
The wife decides that she wanted to move back to Whitehall to be closer to family and friends. So that's when two of my kids were born in Ludington.
Okay.
So both Chloe and Miles were born in Ludington. That was tough deploying. When Miles was 3 months old, I deployed on my second deployment. And that was, probably the toughest thing ever is to deploy. And, as I'm leaving, seeing my two kids in white, and of course I shedded a lot of tears on that bus to the airport,
Yeah.
But so I came back home, and at that point, we've got two kids. I decide I'm going to go to Baker College. So,
Okay.
third time's a charm, right?
Well, let's hope so. Yeah.
So I decided to go to Baker College. I decided I wanted to do get in the physical therapy program.
Okay.
In my mind, I wanted to be maybe a physical therapist for the VA or something. So that's what I did. I took probably another year's worth of classes, and then Uncle Sam says, "Hey, it's time again."
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we deployed a third time.
Now, were you with Manistee still at that point?
Still with Manistee. Yep.
And quick question: how long was your second deployment?
The second deployment was 1 year.
Another year.
Yep, 1 full year. Yep.
So now you're at 27 months.
Yep. And so at this point, I'm at 2.5. So I'm married 3 years, and 2.5 of it's deployed. So
I got nothing.
So yeah, wow. I told my wife that's why marriage was so easy the first few years.
I just yeah. Oh, all right. So you're back. You're back at Baker, and then here comes the Army
so there, this deployment here was to Afghanistan. So they were, we had a mission come up. This mission was to train Afghani police how to run checkpoints. Because at this point, we're trying to phase out of Afghanistan. So the funny thing is I start training. I'm training with all my troops at Camp Grayling, getting ready for deployment. And they come up to me and they're like, "Hey, you don't have to go on this mission. You don't have enough time to finish up." I had less than a year on my contract, and they said, you don't have to go. And so I'm like, okay, kind of thought about it, went home, told the wife, and, we talk about it, and I'm thinking, man, I said, Janet, I don't know if it's going to be on my mind that my troops are over there and I'm here.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, if you want to sign an extension to go on this deployment, you promise me one thing. After this deployment, you're hanging it up. I said, yes. Yes, dear. That's a promise. So I didn't have to go on the deployment, but I wanted to. I wanted to be with the troops that I was training with. So I signed a year extension to go to Afghanistan.
Not Hawaii.
Not Hawaii.
We're going to go to Afghanistan. I'm joking here. Did you make somebody mad? Like,
Yeah, right.
You never went to Hawaii or any place.
Right.
You went right into into the teeth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So that was my third deployment to Afghanistan, and again, that was a pretty safe deployment. Out of all three of them, that was probably the safest. We were not far from a big U.S. base over there. We were just kind of at an outpost. And again, we trained Afghani police, showed them how to check cars and check people. And, So that was a pretty decent deployment. And again, that was only 1 year.
Okay.
Another year.
Another year.
So
your first 5 years, you were probably gone more than you were home.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So somewhere along the line, you got injured in there.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of different things took a toll on my body while I was in. I had some issues with my neck from certain equipment that they had given out to us that later on they decided was not good equipment. So, I mean, in the military, sometimes you're guinea pigs, right? I mean, here, try this. Let's see if it works, you know? So, and I've got, you know, issues. I've got night terror that I deal with. So I have trouble sleeping. So I got some sleep apnea. I've got, you know, PTSD and, you know, a few other issues.
Yeah.
But it's something I always have to deal with. But, you know.
Yeah. I know that, you know, we had another former Marine that came in that battles with some of the, that you met, that's battled with some of the, and he did 2 deployments, but battled with some of the same stuff that you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. No, I mean, I think the bulk of us, whoever watches this, we don't know. We say we know, but we don't know.
Right.
I don't know what you went through.
Right.
And I can't relate to any of that.
Yep.
You know, so wow, once again, thank you for your service.
I appreciate the support.
So you mentioned earlier, and so like you were in this choir at your church.
Yep. So my mom wasn't so much a church goer.
Okay.
My dad always has been. When we were kids, we went to church every Sunday. I was in church choir. I was a candle boy.
Yeah.
Did a lot of youth stuff with the church. And as I grew up, I got baptized when I was in middle school. I'm a United Methodist. We've always gone to church. Of course, as you get older, start having kids, you start having sports, and you don't go to church quite as much. But yes, my dad has always been a big church goer, and I've always followed. My brothers have always gone with us, and yeah.
Gotcha. How did faith come into action with you during your deployment?
So, just me being a Christian, of course, I always kept the Bible with me.
Yeah.
Read it time to time when I, needed some guidance or, it had everything to do with deployments. I mean, it kept me going, it was, just that reassurance that God was with me, during my missions, was fulfilling,
Gotcha. So in your 3 deployments, did you ever lose anybody out of your unit? Or was that like...
So luckily, my direct units, we never lost anybody on all 3 tours. Now, some of our sister units, we lost some. Probably the biggest thing is we lost some after the war.
Yeah.
Really good buddy of mine from the first deployment. I don't know, about a year after we got back from that big deployment, I had talked to him around Christmas time, and it sounded great. Everything was going good. And, then I found out about a month later after talking to him on the phone that he took his life.
Yeah.
He was struggling, and it's another thing. I mean, a lot of people don't realize all the soldiers that we lose to suicide, and it's heartbreaking, I'm a big one where I'm always trying to reach out to any of my buddies and make sure that they're okay, because it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, So
I know when I walked in today, I handed you a book.
Yeah.
From a guy from West Michigan named Ron Jansen, who was a combat vet.
Yep.
He wrote a book. I think now that I have to think of it, an otherwise ordinary man.
Right.
And I handed that to you. I bought a box of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a 2-tour vet.
Right.
And the one tour was pretty rough.
Right.
And he talked about, I thought he came home healthy.
Right.
And then come to find out he wasn't healthy.
That's exactly, a lot of us come back home just, we kind of, wipe everything off the plate and think everything's okay and try to fit right back into society. And sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes more for others than some.
Yeah. They say that it's 22 vets a day are taking their life. And then you hear it's more than that.
It's more than that. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Same out.
Yep. So, I can't tell you enough. Thank you.
Right.
So let's talk about your family. How'd you meet your wife?
So funny story there. I actually met my wife while I was in high school. We were both working at Kentucky Fried Chicken in Whitehall. My mom was actually the manager of the restaurant.
Okay.
And so we just kind of dated a little bit casually. And then shortly after high school, matter of fact, our very first date was Whitehall Montague football game. I said, hey, want to catch a game? So that was our first date.
Okay.
And then after that, like any young couples, we kind of were on and off for a couple years. Then, finally we figured we were destined. And here we are. We've been married for 30 years. It's been fun. We've got 3 great kids. We got Chloe, who's off to college now.
Mm-hmm.
Miles is a senior, and Axel's a freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be any more proud of the kids. I think I'm doing a good job. I think we're doing a good job as parents. They seem to be motivated, and they seem to be active, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Well, I haven't met your daughter yet. I've met Axel. A little bit. He'll film for us from time to time. But I get to work now with the Miles. Right. And I'm working this Friday night, the football game on the Miles. And I tell you what, that kid's amazing. Yeah. That's an outstanding young man right there.
Wow. He loves the sports.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but he's
ahead of his time.
Yeah, he's focused and driven as a high school senior.
Some people don't realize he's only 16 right now. He's a senior. What? 16 years old now. So he'll be 17 at the end of this month, but he'll graduate at 17. There was a point when he was in first grade where the teachers were like, hey, you want to keep him moving, or should we leave him down because of his age? And that was one of those times when me and Janet had a little bit of we're like, what do we do? And I said, well, the teachers were like, well, if he stays down, he's going to get bored with the work. He's doing so good with school. So I said, let's keep him going. Janet wanted to keep him down. Well, we ended up keeping him going. So he's one of the youngest in his class, but at 16, he does a lot for a 16-year-old.
That kid's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Okay, so you get out of the military, you retire, and now you have this thing called Bill's Golden Cards and Collectables. And we're sitting after a year, and you have this cute little, it's probably 6 feet wide, it's probably 12 or 16 feet long little room on the back of your card shop. And that's where we film all these podcasts at, which is really cool. You can see some of the banners up behind us. But how in the world did you get hooked into baseball cards? And not only baseball cards, but all sports cards and Hockey Man and everything else.
Man, so, that's kind of a dream retirement job, right? Is to own your own card shop. You can be a kid again, right?
Yes.
So, I started collecting. My dad got me into collecting at a real young age. And I, found myself spending my paper route money, buying packs of cards at the gas station. So it's always been in my blood since I was little. Then, after one of my deployments, Miles comes up to me and he's like, Dad, what are these cards that are in the garage? Of course, when I joined the military, I put my cards aside, and took a long break into collecting. And it turned out that Miles was interested in them. So we hauled them all out, looked at them, and it was kind of a reconnection for me and Miles after a deployment.
Okay, yeah.
It was bonding, So we found that bond, and then we started collecting together. So me and Miles started collecting together. Axel started collecting with us. So it was a father-son bonding, which kind of revamped my love for the hobby. And then fast forward, I medically retired from the Army. And all of a sudden I'm just, my first month I'm sitting at home. I'm like, man, I need to do something. I can't just stay at home, Yeah. So I actually thought about driving the school bus for Whitehall, just something to do,
Yep.
So I'm just like looking at Marketplace, and all of a sudden I see there's a card shop for sale in Whitehall. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
That's impossible.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, I inquired about it. I come off and talked to the owner, and he had only been in business for maybe 6 months. He said it just wasn't his thing. He couldn't get it going. In my eyes, I'm like, man, I've got big plans, so, but I didn't have the money for a down payment or anything. So, my wheels are turning in my head again. What can I do? So I proposed the idea of putting cards as a down payment. So I use about $5,000 worth of cards as a down payment. So, of course, one of them I had to consult with Miles because it belonged to both of us. I said, Miles, what do you think? It was a autographed Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout dual autograph card, and it was graded a perfect 10. So perfect card, awesome card, only 10 of them in the world. So big card, right? So I talked to Miles, and Miles was like, well, Dad, it's a no-brainer. You're getting a card shop here. So I said to Miles, I said, are you sure? He's like, absolutely. So I proposed using that card as a down payment, and the former owner jumped at it, and I said, awesome. So of course, we had a contract drummed up, and I'm making payments the first couple years to the guy, for the distributorship. It was turn and key, so I took over all of his inventory and everything. So we get to 2 years in, and I proposed to him. I said, hey, I know we're getting close to being done, but how about if we finish it off with cards? So again, I drummed up a bunch of cards in the shop so that I could be done paying for the shop. And that's free and clear for me. So we came up with about $10,000 worth of cards, and I handed them over to him, and we signed the papers, and that's it.
Wow.
So I virtually purchased the business with cards.
Yeah, but so you had an investment. But let's back up. You had an investment in cards already.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, obvious.
Oh yeah.
You had more than 10 cards
right
at home.
Right.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I wrote this down, and I have to ask before I forget. That's why I write things down while we're doing it. How in the heck did you get 1 in 10? So that you and Miles acquired that card?
So a few years prior to that, me and Miles had started investing in the top 100 players in baseball. So what we would do is we would go and whether it's eBay or another group, we would start hitting those 100 players and finding their autograph cards. And so we had found a good deal on eBay, and we bought this card that was out of 10 of Mike Trout and Miguel Cabrera. Of course, we bought it ungraded, so we took the chance and sent it in to get graded, and it came back a perfect 10. So, of course, that makes it a lot more valuable.
Yes.
So that's how we acquired that card.
For those that don't know, and I know a little bit about this, explain the grading system.
Yeah, so baseball cards, that's kind of the thing now. A lot of people like to grade cards. And basically what it does is you send it to a grading company, and they will look it over and make sure that it's in perfect condition. And they'll grade it anywhere from authentic to a 4 to a gem mint 10. And so basically that increases the value of your card quite a bit. So that's kind of how that process is.
So I'm going to talk a little bit on the financial part of it. So they say when you buy a business, you want to have that business paid for in 10 years.
Yes.
Correct? I mean,
Yes.
that's what you hear.
Correct.
How many years did it take for you to get this paid off?
Less than 3.
Attaboy.
Yes.
Attaboy.
Yes.
Well done.
It's a good feeling.
Oh, heavens, yeah. Who likes that? Nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't met it because I'm Dutch, right? I haven't met it. None of my buddies like that. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And so, getting into the card shop, in my head, I'm a sports guy, right?
Yeah.
So, I start digging in and I'm like, I see this Pokemon stuff in the shop.
Yeah.
I took over. I'm like, yeah, this is we're going to get rid of this. And then as soon as I open the doors up, all these kids come in looking for Pokemon. And so I'm like, okay, what is Pokemon here?
Right.
It was after my time growing up, so I didn't know anything about Pokemon. So I had to learn everything I could. So I learned it was such a big thing in the area. I had a high school kid come in and build me a playing deck and show me how to play. So I'm like, well, if I'm in the business, I need to learn everything about it, right? So I learned how to play Pokemon. Never in my wild imagination thought I would say I was sitting down playing Pokemon. But it's fun, and I'll tell you, just being able to see the kids come into the shop and get so excited, that's where it counts.
Yeah.
So and then seeing the hobby still alive, seeing father and son come in and still collecting together. I mean, that's without that, there's no future. So keeping it going is special.
Yep. And I can tell by the smile on your face and the tone of your voice, you're having the time of your life with.
Oh man, yeah. We're always thinking of new ways to do things in the community.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things that we've done twice now is we've done a scavenger hunt. So we do it every spring. We kind of tie it into Easter a little bit. We have these little plastic balls, how you would get them out of like a little, machine where you stick your quarter in, you get a sticker in it or whatever. So what we do is we hide these balls around Whitehall and Montague in public areas, parks, walkways, schools, wherever. And what we do is we put a little prize in them, but they have to come to the shop to claim the prize.
Right.
And throughout the day, they can come in and they can buy a pack of cards and get a clue of where some of these are hidden. So it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
Countless hours. Some of these, families will be out. And another thing is it gets them out of the house, right?
Yeah.
Gets people out of the house. So we've done that twice now, which has been a really big hit here in the White Lake area.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. How many items do you hide?
About 50 of them. Yep. So yeah,
That is neat.
yeah, that's been a fun event for us.
Yeah. Miles, who's going to be a senior, do you envision him coming back and going into business with you, or what do you think Miles is going to do when he's done with college?
I'll tell you what, Miles right now wants to go as far as he can away from mom and dad. He wants to venture out, which is good for him because I think it's good for kids to venture out of our little bubble. He wants to go somewhere where there's some big cities, where he can do some covering, sports coverage. So I don't see Miles coming back.
Okay.
Not
right away.
Maybe later on. I see him venturing out and doing his thing, and I'm gonna have to take a vacation to Vegas to visit him. Maybe that's where I see that happening. Right.
Yeah, whenever there's a card show,
Right.
Miles, I'll meet you there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know one of the places he's talked about possibly is Arizona State.
Yeah.
Because they have a very good journalism.
Yep. So I know recently he's been talking about Toledo.
Yeah, so I know it's another one.
So yeah,
that he mentioned. So where do you want to be in 20 years?
So in 20 years, I want to be right here.
Okay.
I'm hoping that at that point, that me and my wife are kind of doing a little more traveling. That's kind of on our bucket list. Is we'd like to do some traveling when the kids grow up and kind of, once we're fully retired. But for the most part, I hope to keep the card shop here going strong. Maybe me not being here as much and some young kid running it, maybe Axel. I can see Axel being here.
Okay.
So I could see him hanging out for a while and helping out at the shop. So, okay.
Yeah. What's the one thing I did not ask you that you wanted me to ask you?
Oh man, I'll tell you, we went over a lot of stuff. Well, how about this?
Okay.
I'll tell you something that you didn't ask me, I guess.
Yeah.
And
That's what I want. Yeah.
So something that a lot of people don't know about me is I'm a Freemason.
Explain that.
So I am a part of the Masonic Lodge. So basically it's a men's fraternity. We kind of practice, doing good for the community, being better men. Basically it's run long in our family.
Yeah.
My dad was a Mason. My grandpa was a Mason. My great grandpa was a Mason. So it's me and my brother that I deployed with, Rick. He's a Mason also. So it's kind of one of those things. I haven't really been active as a Mason, just because I guess I've coached Little League for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something that you didn't ask me, I guess, is my Little League. So I've been, 10 years coaching Little League, 4 years coaching travel baseball. That's actually one of the things that has kept me going after deployments, because it's kind of that piece. I'm a big baseball guy. So Janet jokes around saying, when the kids are all grown up, you're probably still going to coach some kids that you don't even know, because I love it. I was actually on the board for White Lake Little League for a few years during COVID, which was a really tough time to try to get the kids out there on the field. But I was proud that I was able to.
Yeah.
A lot of Little Leagues were able to. So that's kind of a little mixture of a couple of things that you didn't touch on. Is my coaching. I did a lot of coaching. I still do coach Little League. So I think Axel's got one more year.
Okay. It's good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. What's the most unique card in the shop here?
Probably I got an 1889 Old Judge tobacco card. So that's actually kind of a staple of the shop. Probably right when I opened the doors, a guy from Ludington brought me some old cards. And of course, I didn't really know if they were real or not, but I took a chance and bought them. And then I sent them in to get authenticated, and they came back all authentic. And this one's an 1889 Old Judge baseball card. And what's great about it is some of these kids will come in with a card from 1980 and say, I got this old card. And I'm like, oh, you think that's old, huh? And then I show them the 1889 card.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most unique card we've got.
Gotcha.
It's a nice piece.
Do you still have, because you said you use it for collateral or to buy this plate, the signed Cabrera Trout card?
No. So that actually I used for the down payment.
Yeah.
That was to get us started, get us in the door. I had actually tried to work a deal to get that back, and the guy that I bought the business from had already sold it.
Oh, he did, before I could get a chance. So
that'll be on. That's the fun part of collecting, is the hunt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So now me and Miles are on the hunt. We go to a lot of shows and stuff. So, if we find it again, we're definitely grabbing it.
That's awesome.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
And you and Miles are going, hopefully I don't get Miles in trouble here, but actually this won't air until afterwards. you're going to a baseball game on Wednesday, correct?
Yeah. So I'm taking Miles and Axel, the two boys. We decided to get playoff tickets for the Tigers. It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
So about a month ago, Miles is like, Dad, I think the Tigers are going to make it. And I said, Miles, I think they're going to fall a little short this year. And of course, Miles with everything. Dad, do you want to place a bet? So of course, our bet was if they make it into the playoffs, I buy tickets. So they made it to the playoffs, and now I'm taking the boys to the playoffs.
Great job.
Yeah. So
yeah, that day of school is not going to matter.
No, not at all.
Not a lifetime memory.
Right.
That's a lifetime memory.
That's a lifetime.
They won't have a lifetime memory. Well, boy, that day in October 12th. I mean,
yeah,
that was a riveting day in education.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, good job.
So
that's
that'll be
awesome.
fun. Yep.
Where are your seats at?
We're actually right down the left field line.
Okay.
So I think we're a little bit in the nosebleeds, but you know what? When you're at a playoff game, the atmosphere, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. I've been fortunate through just, especially through ministry here in the last, 15, 20 years, to meet guys and then get invited to go places that, went to a great game. How I think Scherzer, Verlander was on the hill and they were playing the Yankees, and I got to go sit in the suite.
Oh man, that's cool.
And Willie Horton came in. Frank Sonata came in. And Frank and I are friends. He's been up here and spoken for me a couple of different times.
Yeah.
Willie Horton came in. What an honor and a pleasure it was to meet him.
He's a good guy. I met him when I was real little, but all I remember is he had big hands.
And he's wide. His shoulders are like 4 feet wide.
Big guy.
He's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's short.
Right.
But it's like, oh my gosh, his upper body was just massive. Yeah. Wow. So, well, Billy man, I got Bill here and Billy there. And I get confused easy. So Billy says we're about ready to run out of time. So, Bill Welch. Wow, this has been enjoyable.
No, it's been fun. I've enjoyed being on the show for sure.
Yeah, yep. And if I would have known some of this, I would have had you on as the third guest on whatever month it was. On that third day of the month. Yeah, but I learned that now.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. So once again, Bill, thank you so much for being on and being on the show.
No, it's been an honor. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for just tuning in. And once again, I want to thank Bill Welch here and Bill's Golden Cards and Collectables. This is his shop right here in Whitehall, right here on Colby Street. Make sure you stop in and check it out. It is a cool place. It's a happening place here for baseball cards, Pokemon, football, you name it. They got it in here. And Billy Mann, KLLB Media, making your creations come to life. Appreciate Billy Mann very, very much. So that's going to wrap up episode 12. Thank you for listening. Go out and have a great day, and God bless.